Hello my loves, welcome back. It is time to update my testing all of my eyeshadow palettes series. So this month it is Nabla. I have 5 palettes, I believe. I feel like I had more, but I don't know. Do I have myself together with this project? No, I do not feel like I have had myself together with this project recently, especially with this group of palettes. I'm just going to say it right now, I'm getting rid of all of these. We'll talk about it. And I do also have these 2 little glittery palettes. So let's just get into it. Let's start with the side by side nude palette. I did think that this, if there was going to be any that I kept, it would probably be this one. And now that I'm looking at it, I kind of, I'm second guessing myself, but I'm gonna go over my notes. I will swatch a few of these shades for you. There will be a picture on the screen that shows you the shades from the palette that I actually used. Let's go through it. So one of the first shades I used was Better Society, which is this one here, and I loved this. I love it. I absolutely love this shade. It's so pretty and sparkly and light reflective. But that's kind of where it ends with what I personally feel like is really impressive about this palette. There's some other shimmery shades in the palette, but they don't hit the mark for me. So I've just swatched these 3 here. We'll also swatch these guys. I do think the shades are pretty. It's just, I feel like I can replicate a lot of this in other palettes, except this. This is unique. If these were magnetic pans, I'm not gonna lie, I'd probably pull it out because I just love it so much. It's one of those formulas where you can build it up to get this like high shine metallic sparkle, or you can sort of dust it on and it gives you this translucent, like glittery, sparkly effect. And I love that. It's like my favorite thing. I did think maybe this shade here, which is Body and Soul, would be a little bit similar because they kind of look tiny bit similar in the pan, but it's not at all. And I had so much fallout with it. These palettes are old and I don't think I've really noticed a great deal of change in them, but I do feel like some of them might be a little bit like drier than they should be. As for the mattes, I do feel like there's quite a few in here that I like. Well, I don't know, man. 4 quite a few, when there's like, 6 others that I probably just wouldn't really use that much. So they're the 4 that I like in terms of like their color depth. Beauty Mark, this one here, was so strange though. Like, it's quite light, so I felt like it would be one that would, blend easy and kind of be a one and done eyeshadow, but it was really sticky and hard to blend. And then the rest of the shades, like, they're quite dark and I just don't really see myself reaching for them. Like that black, I'm never going to use that black. Not only because I don't really care for black eyeshadow and it's not a shade that really works on my tiny little eyes, but also like, it's not exciting. Anyway, I'm reminded I do not need to keep that palette. I will miss this shade, definitely. It was beautiful. It was the only one that I wanted to use in the palette, but it's got to go. Next up is the Dreamy palette. I do actually really like the color story of this one in terms of like, colorful eyeshadow palettes. This is kind of like where my line is drawn for everyday use. Obviously, if I'm filming something, I don't really mind a bit more color, but yeah, you get it. So I used a lot of these shades. I might have even used almost all of them. I've marked Sistina as a shade that I really loved. Yeah, I do love these like almost like pale, like muted peachy-ish shades. The mattes in this palette are much more wearable in my opinion. I'll just swatch them all for you. You can see what they look like. I will say that this shade here, which is Senorita, it's not it's not one that I would reach for. It's a bit too bright for me. Everything else I really like. I do also like this shade. I'm loving these sort of like mauvey, like dusty kind of shades. Lullaby, very pretty. As for the like, I don't know, can we really call them metallics? I'll swatch some and you can see, and you can let me know what you think. I don't think they really hit the mark. They're kind of a bit flat, and I don't want flat, I don't want boring. I think they have like really good grip. They stick to the eye fantastically, but yeah, they're not really exciting. Delirium is kind of a cool one. It looks quite like metallic in the palette, and I believe it's kind of like, I don't know. Yeah, it's not looking great. I feel like in the palette, and when you swatch it, it almost looks like a not pressed glitter, but kind of like a pressed pigment type thing. And then when you swatch it, you can see it's got like a sort of mauvey brown undertone to it, and the sparkle is just completely lost. There was so much fallout with that shade. Like, I would never ever risk putting that on my face again because the cleanup was a nightmare. While I look at the palette and I do like the color story of it, the mattes in here I really enjoyed, and you know, the shades of these sort of, I don't know, what do you even call them now? Like, I can't consider them metallic because they're just not. I need more sparkle and light reflection in my life these days, so she's got to go. Next we have the Dreamy 2 palette. Now, I didn't use many shades from here. I've got Deja Vu as one of the mattes that I used. Show you that there. Very wearable for me. Some other mattes in the palette are Pantheon and New Past. I just think New Past is, I mean, it's probably like borderline at the depth of my like darkness cap. And what was it called? Pantheon. It's so light. Like, I'm not gonna wear a matte highlight on my eyes. I don't see the point. It's too boring for me. And then the like shimmery shades that I used was Lucid Dream and Amarcord. Now, Amarcord looked similar to the formula of the Better Society in the what was it called? The Nude side by side palette. And it is similar. It's that, you know, pretty like very light reflective, not quite as sparkly. And then there's a Lucid Dream, which has that sort of like translucent, glittery, warm, sort of yellowy gold reflect that comes off it. And I mean, it's pretty, but also I've got so many of them in other palettes. I'm just going to swatch the other shades for you because I think some of them are pretty interesting. Hidden Place is nice. It's a like multi-chrome shade, green to purple, like an olive green, purple and gold. It's pretty, but it's too dark for me. I won't wear it. Then we have Libertine and Rem. These feel like glittery formulas. So Libertine is very metallic, little bit of like sparkle, but it's, you know, it's a pretty shade. This one here, if I wore blue eyeshadow, or like, I mean, it comes off a little bit purple, but it's also quite blue. That's Rem. It is very, very pretty. I don't wear blue because it brings out like the dark circles in my eyes. Then we have Honoric, I think that's how you say it, which is kind of like a, I don't know, a greeny bronze shade. We've got Mirabella, which is, you know, a lavender. It's pretty enough. And then we've got these two, which are an interesting formula. They're kind of like a creamy matte, which is interesting. The red shade is called Dionysus and the purple shade is called Offline. Realistically, there's just so much in here that I won't reach for and won't wear. I feel like the only time I would pull this out is if I was literally doing a video on it, and I'm not going to do that. So it doesn't make sense for me to keep it. I'm not going to pick this up in my day-to-day life and be like, oh yeah, this can like sit in my everyday makeup drawer for a month and I'm going to get a million looks out of it. I couldn't put this in a project pan because I'd reach for like 2 shades. Finally, I have the 2 glitter palettes. So we've got the Miami Lights, which is this one, and then we have Ruby Lights. These are drying out a bit, definitely, but I still really, really like them. I don't think that these are going to be something that I use super often, but I'm just not quite ready to get rid of them, because when I was using them as like toppers to sort of, you know, jazz up what I felt was a boring look, I was having a lot of fun with them. Now I know a lot of people don't like glitter on their eyes, and that's totally fine. That I understand and I totally respect it, but I don't mind it. I do have a selection of glitters and I don't use them nearly enough, but I would like to hold on to those ones for now, and they're nice and small and compact, and one day they will dry up completely and I will have to get rid of them, but that day is not now. So the Nabla glitter palettes are staying in my stash. I knew I had another one. It's the Cutie palette in Platinum. So these are little 6-pan palettes. I didn't use this one, and I didn't use it because I decided quite early on that I have kept this palette for one reason only, and it doesn't make sense for me to, oh God, what am I going to do? It doesn't make sense for me to keep it just for that reason. So I set it aside knowing that it was going to be, you know, not staying in my stash. I was going to declutter it. Now the reason why I have kept it for so long is this shade here, which is called Luxuriance. It is probably one of the most amazing, how do I get, see? I can't get rid of this. This is, I don't even know how they've done this. It is just like, here, let me swatch this last shade too, which is boring. But just look at this. Like, how do I get rid of it? I feel like I can't. Just look at it. Nah, I can't get rid of it. This is what happens, right? Every time I would film an eyeshadow palette declutter, like I had all of these palettes. The brand sent me all of them. I did videos on them, or a video, and throughout the years I have decluttered them all, and this one has stayed because every time I swatch that shade, I'm just, what is that? It's like, it's almost like a powder paint. It's so strange. The way it goes on, it's so incredibly smooth. You might think that, oh, look at all that shimmery metallic stuff, there's going to be fallout all over her leg where I've been rubbing up and down. No, not a drop. I cannot even describe how magical this particular eyeshadow is. And I know I said I was going to get rid of it, and when I first started like with these palettes and I was testing them out, and I opened this up and I was like, I do not want anything in here, but I know that that silver is something special. I didn't even swatch it. I was just like, I'm gonna get rid of it. I put it to the side and I was like, it's just gonna be like first cab off the rank. We are focusing on decluttering, but I can't bring myself to do it. I can't. What if I want to be the Tin Man for Halloween one year? We don't even celebrate Halloween, but you know, I need a good excuse for the next palettes that I'm going to do. I'm working on NARS, and I have an Oopsie Daisy Lethal Cosmetics palette that I missed when I was working on my L palettes, I believe. Otherwise, I'm testing it twice. I don't know. I can't remember, guys. It all blends into one. This is what I'm wearing on my eyes today. It is the Bijou palette, and it's probably my favorite of all of my NARS palettes. If they bought something out similar to this, I'd probably buy it. Not gonna lie. Love this one. Beautiful sparkly shades. Lots of mattes I can use. A little bit of fun color. The greens, you know how I feel about that, but we'll see how we go. I also have the Afterglow palette, which is this one here. I have the Man Ray palette. When you see this, I'm sure you're gonna be like, no way you're keeping that. And maybe no way. I won't be decluttering it because the packaging on this collection really got me. Not sure how I feel about Man Ray as a person, but you know, I learnt that too late, I suppose. Anyway, there's that one there. Then I have the Provocateur palette, which looks like this. Also a bit iffy if that one will stay in my stash. And I have the Claudette Saint Germain des Prés palette. Is that how you say it? Oh, shush. This one was actually, I believe Madeline gave me this one. She ended up with it and was like, I'm not going to use it. I know you like NARS, you take it. So I did. And that looks very, very wearable for me. I have used it, or maybe I haven't. Maybe I've only swatched it. Anyway, we'll see. It's still got the slip in there, which tells me I probably only swatched it. And then Lethal Cosmetics. This was a little, I can't remember if they released this as just a bundle or if this was actually like a palette that they released. I don't know, I can't remember. Anyway, 6 shades in there, all multi-chromes. We'll have a little play with them. That is a very small and, you know, non-offensive palette for my stash. So even if like half of these shades I quite enjoy, probably going to keep her. So I'll be back with NARS. I am really, I say this every time, so I'm not actually going to say it again. I'm not even going to bother. I'm just going to try to do my best. I'll be back with an update as soon as I can. And I will say I am disappointed in myself for not actually just getting this done in 2024. It was never my intention for it to span over like 26 months. And it won't. I am well beyond the halfway mark. Of the 90, approximately 90 palettes that I think I started with, I have tested 63 of them, which is fantastic. I do think maybe I got a little bit over 90, but anyway, it doesn't matter. We'll work out the exact numbers at the end. And I've decluttered 23. So I'm pretty happy with that. I don't know if I'm really going to get rid of anything with NARS. It's going to be a hard one for me. You guys know I love NARS, but we'll see how we go. I'm just going to have fun with it. I am really looking forward to digging back into these eyeshadows. It's been quite some time, so I'm looking forward to playing with them and being reminded of how much I love them. So until then, I want to say a massive thank you to my channel members. Appreciate you guys so much, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.